The Atlantic Ocean stretches endlessly beneath a grey November sky in 1978. Off the coast of Cape Cod, Massachusetts, the fishing vessel Margaret's Dream cuts through choppy waters with its crew of 6 seasoned sailors. Captain Robert Sullivan, a weathered man of 52, adjusts his worn baseball cap as he studies the horizon. The boat rocks gently, its engine humming a familiar tune that has guided countless expeditions into these treacherous waters. "Weather's turning nasty, Captain," calls out Tommy Martinez, the youngest crew member at 24, his voice carrying over the wind. He points toward the darkening clouds gathering in the distance. The other men, Danny Walsh, Mike Kowalski, James Jimmy O'Brien, and Pete Sanderson, continue their work, checking nets and securing equipment with practiced efficiency. Captain Sullivan nods grimly. He's been fishing these waters for 30 years, and something feels different today. The radio crackles with static as he attempts to contact the Coast Guard station in Chatham. This is Margaret's Dream, requesting weather update for grid 7 Alpha 9. Only silence answers back. The families of these men go about their daily routines, unaware that this morning's goodbye kisses will be their last. Mary Sullivan prepares her husband's favorite coffee in their small kitchen overlooking Provincetown Harbour. She watches through salt-stained windows as other boats return with their catches, wondering why Robert hasn't called as promised. Her fingers trace the edges of a faded photograph showing Robert and their 3 children during happier times. Meanwhile, in nearby Hyannis, Elena Martinez tends to her flower shop, arranging chrysanthemums while humming a Spanish lullaby her mother once sang. Her son Tommy should be calling soon with news of the day's catch. She glances at the clock, 3 in the afternoon, and feels an inexplicable chill despite the warmth from the greenhouse heaters. The Coast Guard station receives its first distress call at 3:47 p.m. from another fishing vessel reporting unusual radio silence from multiple boats in the area. Lieutenant Commander Patricia Hayes, a dedicated officer with 15 years of maritime rescue experience, immediately coordinates a search operation. Helicopter crews scan the choppy waters as rescue boats navigate through increasingly dangerous swells. By nightfall, the search yields only questions. No debris, no oil slicks, no emergency beacons. Just an empty ocean that seems to have swallowed 6 men without a trace. The official report filed 3 days later lists Margaret's Dream and her crew as lost at sea under unknown circumstances. A bureaucratic phrase that offers no comfort to the families left behind. Years pass, like pages turning in a book no one wants to read. Mary Sullivan never remarries, keeping her husband's coffee cup on the kitchen table and maintaining his fishing equipment in the garage. She works double shifts at the local diner, raising their children while battling the constant ache of uncertainty. Her daughter Sarah grows up visiting the harbour every Sunday, staring at the horizon and whispering prayers her father might somehow hear. Elena Martinez closes her flower shop after 5 years, unable to bear the daily reminder of arrangements for funerals and memorial services. She moves to Arizona with her daughter, seeking solace in the desert's vastness, far from the ocean's haunting whispers. Yet even there, she dreams of Tommy's laugh and the way he used to bring her wildflowers from his childhood adventures. The maritime community develops its own theories about the disappearance. Some whisper about the Bermuda Triangle's influence extending northward. Others speak of drug runners eliminating witnesses or freak storms that can appear and vanish within minutes. Captain Morrison, a grizzled veteran who knew Robert Sullivan personally, maintains that something supernatural claimed the boat. The ocean has her secrets, he tells anyone willing to listen at Murphy's Tavern. Some she keeps forever. Insurance investigations drag on for years. Companies reluctant to pay death benefits without concrete evidence demand extensive documentation. Families hire private investigators who chase leads across New England, following rumors of sightings and mysterious radio transmissions. Each potential breakthrough dissolves like morning fog, leaving only more questions and mounting legal fees. The official Coast Guard file grows thick with testimonies from fishermen reporting strange lights in the area around the time of the disappearance. Satellite data from that November day shows unusual weather patterns that meteorologists struggle to explain. Temperature readings indicate a sudden drop of 15 degrees in a localized area, followed by electromagnetic anomalies that interfered with communication equipment. Local newspapers revisit the story annually, printing memorial articles that gradually shrink from front-page headlines to small inside columns. Television reporters occasionally interview family members on the anniversary, but public interest wanes as newer tragedies capture attention. The mystery of Margaret's dream becomes another unsolved case, filed away in dusty archives. In 1985, the Coast Guard officially declares the 6 men dead, allowing families to finally hold memorial services. The ceremony at Provincetown's Our Lady of Good Voyage Chapel draws hundreds of mourners from throughout the fishing community. Father McKenna speaks about faith during times of incomprehensible loss, his words echoing off stone walls adorned with plaques honoring other sailors claimed by the sea. Mary Sullivan places her husband's wedding ring in a small wooden box beside a photograph of their wedding day. She whispers a promise to keep searching for answers, even as officials encourage her to find closure. Her son Michael, now 18, announces his intention to join the Coast Guard, driven by a need to understand what happened to his father. The years continue their relentless march. Sarah Sullivan becomes a marine biologist, specializing in deep-sea research. She tells colleagues that her career choice is purely scientific, but friends recognize the deeper motivation behind her passion for ocean exploration. Her research takes her to remote locations where she studies underwater geological formations and documents previously unknown species. Technology advances throughout the 1980s and 1990s. Sonar equipment becomes more sophisticated, satellite imaging improves, and underwater exploration capabilities expand dramatically. Yet the search area where Margaret's dream vanished remains largely unexplored due to its extreme depth and unstable underwater topography. In 1998, exactly 20 years after the disappearance, the Discovery Channel produces a documentary titled Vanished at Sea: The Margaret's Dream Mystery. The film features interviews with surviving family members, Coast Guard officials, and maritime experts. Dr. Jonathan Rivers, an oceanographer from Woods Hole, explains how underwater landslides can bury objects completely, preserving them in anaerobic conditions for decades or centuries. The documentary reignites public interest in the case. Online forums dedicated to maritime mysteries analyze every detail of the disappearance. Amateur investigators pore over weather data, tide charts, and fishing records from November 1978. Some theorists propose that the boat encountered a rogue wave of unprecedented size, while others suggest a collision with an uncharted underwater obstacle. Mary Sullivan, now in her 70s, watches the documentary from her living room in the same house she shared with Robert. Her arthritis makes it difficult to hold the remote control, but she listens intently to every word. When the program ends, she sits in darkness, remembering her husband's voice and the way he used to describe the ocean's moods. The new millennium brings revolutionary changes to underwater exploration. Remote-operated vehicles equipped with high-definition cameras can reach depths previously accessible only through imagination. Dr. Michelle Chen, a maritime archaeologist from Boston University, secures funding for a comprehensive survey of the area where Margaret's dream disappeared. Her team includes Dr. Rivers from the earlier documentary, along with cutting-edge technology provided by the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. The research vessel Deep Explorer arrives on station in May 2003, equipped with side-scan sonar capable of mapping the ocean floor in extraordinary detail. The search area encompasses nearly 50 square miles of seafloor, ranging from depths of 200 to over 800 feet. Underwater terrain maps reveal a complex landscape of underwater valleys, rocky outcroppings, and sediment deposits accumulated over millennia. The team methodically surveys grid patterns, documenting every anomaly for further investigation. On their seventh day of searching, sonar operator Kevin Walsh notices an unusual geometric shape on his display. The object measures approximately 60 feet in length and appears partially buried beneath layers of sand and sediment. Dr. Chen studies the sonar image carefully, noting characteristics consistent with a mid-sized fishing vessel. The team deploys their most advanced remote-operated vehicle, equipped with powerful lights and precision cameras. As the ROV descends through increasingly dark water, anticipation builds aboard the research vessel. At a depth of 430 feet, the lights illuminate something extraordinary. The bow of Margaret's Dream emerges from the seafloor like a ghost ship rising from an underwater grave. The vessel sits upright, her hull intact despite 25 years beneath the ocean. Most remarkably, the boat appears to have settled into a natural depression in the seafloor, with sediment building up around the sides while leaving the upper portions exposed. Dr. Chen's hands tremble as she operates the ROV's controls, guiding the vehicle around the vessel's perimeter. The boat's registration numbers remain clearly visible on the stern, confirming the identity beyond doubt. Equipment on deck shows signs of rapid abandonment, nets partially deployed, tools scattered across the working area, but no obvious signs of violence or catastrophic damage. The research team maintains professional composure while documenting their discovery, but privately, each member grapples with the implications. The vessel's position and condition challenge conventional understanding of how objects sink and settle on the ocean floor. The boat appears to have descended straight down and buried itself partially in the seafloor, creating a preservation chamber that defied natural decomposition processes. Dr. Rivers examines the sonar data more closely and makes a startling discovery. The seafloor beneath Margaret's Dream shows evidence of a geological event that occurred sometime after the boat's arrival. Sediment layers indicate a significant underwater landslide that would have shifted tons of material, essentially sealing the vessel in place while protecting it from deep-sea scavengers and corrosion. The team contacts Coast Guard headquarters to report their findings. Lieutenant Commander Hayes, now retired but serving as a consultant on cold cases, flies to the research site immediately. She studies the underwater footage with the intensity of someone who has carried this mystery for 25 years. Her voice breaks slightly as she confirms the vessel's identity and authorizes a comprehensive investigation. News of the discovery spreads quickly through maritime communities and families who never stopped hoping for answers. Mary Sullivan receives the call from her son Michael, now a Coast Guard captain himself. She listens quietly as he describes the discovery, her weathered hands gripping the telephone receiver. After hanging up, she sits in her kitchen, staring at Robert's empty coffee cup, and whispers a prayer of gratitude mixed with renewed grief. Elena Martinez, contacted at her home in Phoenix, struggles to process the news. Her daughter translates the Coast Guard official's words, explaining that Tommy's vessel has been found intact beneath the ocean floor. Elena closes her eyes and sees her son's face, forever young and full of dreams about his future family and the fishing business he planned to inherit. The recovery operation requires weeks of careful planning. Legal authorities must determine jurisdiction and establish protocols for what essentially amounts to an underwater archaeological site. Families request that their loved ones' remains be recovered respectfully, while scientists argue for the historical significance of preserving the vessel's contents in their original state. Dr. Chen advocates for a methodical approach that honors both scientific discovery and family wishes. The team develops procedures for documenting every aspect of the vessel's condition before disturbing anything. Specialized equipment designed for deep-sea archaeology is transported from institutions across the country. The first dive to actually enter Margaret's Dream occurs on a calm morning in June 2003. Dr. Chen operates the ROV personally, guiding it through the vessel's main cabin with reverence typically reserved for sacred spaces. The interior reveals a frozen moment in time. Coffee cups still secured in holders, navigation charts spread across the plotting table, personal belongings tucked into bunks. In the wheelhouse, Captain Sullivan's logbook lies open to his final entry, dated November 15th, 1978. The handwriting remains legible despite decades underwater, protected by the vessel's sealed environment. His last words describe unusual weather conditions and a decision to return to port due to equipment malfunctions. The entry ends mid-sentence, suggesting something sudden interrupted his writing. Personal effects throughout the vessel tell individual stories of the crew members' lives and dreams. Tommy Martinez's bunk contains photographs of his girlfriend and a letter he had been writing to his mother, describing plans for Christmas dinner and his intention to propose on New Year's Eve. Danny Walsh's toolbox holds not just fishing equipment, but carefully crafted wooden toys he was making for his nephew's birthday. The galley reveals evidence of the crew's final meal preparation. Canned goods remain preserved in the sealed environment, along with Jimmy O'Brien's homemade bread recipe tucked behind the stove. Pete Sanderson's harmonica sits on the table beside sheet music for folk songs he played during long nights at sea. Most poignantly, Mike Kowalski's wallet contains a sonogram photograph of his unborn child, due to arrive the following spring. His wife had given him the image before he left port, and he had tucked it carefully into a plastic sleeve to protect it from sea spray. The child he never met is now 25 years old, a successful teacher who has always wondered about the father she never knew. The recovery team works with archaeological precision, documenting the location and condition of every item before removal. Underwater photographers capture thousands of images, creating a comprehensive record of how the crew lived and worked aboard Margaret's Dream. Each discovery adds depth to the story of 6 men whose lives ended far too soon. The vessel's radio equipment provides crucial clues about the crew's final hours. Technical analysis reveals that the radio was functioning normally until approximately 4:15 p.m. on November 15th, when all transmissions ceased abruptly. Examination of the equipment shows no signs of damage or malfunction, suggesting that external circumstances prevented the crew from calling for help. Weather records from that day indicate the passage of an unusual storm system that meteorologists struggled to classify. Satellite imagery from the era, primitive by modern standards, shows a circular weather pattern that appeared suddenly and dissipated within hours. Oceanographers theorize that this anomalous storm could have created conditions leading to the rapid sinking of the vessel. The absence of human remains aboard Margaret's Dream generates intense speculation among investigators. Life rafts and emergency equipment remain secured in their proper locations, suggesting the crew had no opportunity to abandon ship. Personal items show no signs of hurried packing or emergency preparation. The mystery of what happened to 6 experienced fishermen deepens rather than resolves with each new discovery. Dr. Chen proposes that the crew may have been thrown overboard during the vessel's rapid descent, explaining their absence from the sealed cabin. However, this theory conflicts with the lack of damage to the boat's structure and the orderly condition of personal belongings. Alternative explanations range from medical emergencies affecting all crew members simultaneously to encounters with phenomena beyond current scientific understanding. The investigation expands to examine similar disappearances in the same general area over the past century. Maritime records reveal a disturbing pattern of vessels vanishing under mysterious circumstances, often during periods of unusual weather activity. Local fishermen have long avoided certain areas during specific tidal and atmospheric conditions, passing down warnings through generations without fully understanding the scientific basis for their caution. Geological surveys of the surrounding seafloor reveal additional anomalies that may explain the preservation of Margaret's Dream. The underwater landscape shows evidence of periodic landslides that could trap and seal objects within protective sediment layers. This natural phenomenon, combined with the deep water's low oxygen environment, created ideal conditions for preservation. The discovery attracts international attention from marine archaeologists and oceanographers. Universities worldwide request access to data and artifacts recovered from the vessel. The National Geographic Society funds additional research to understand the geological and meteorological factors that contributed to both the disappearance and remarkable preservation of the boat. Families of the crew members visit the research site aboard the Deep Explorer, witnessing firsthand the vessel that claimed their loved ones. Mary Sullivan holds her husband's compass, recovered from the wheelhouse, and speaks quietly about their life together. Elena Martinez touches the harmonica that belonged to Jimmy O'Brien, remembering how Tommy used to play similar instruments during family gatherings. The emotional impact on families proves complex and contradictory. While the discovery provides long-sought answers about the vessel's fate, it raises new questions about the crew's final moments. Some family members find closure in finally knowing where their loved ones spent their last hours. Others struggle with renewed grief as personal belongings bring back vivid memories of loss. Dr. Chen documents not just the physical artifacts, but also the stories shared by family members during their visit to the site. These oral histories add human context to the clinical archaeological record. Mary Sullivan describes Robert's superstitions about fishing during certain moon phases. Elena Martinez explains Tommy's dream of saving money to buy his own boat and start a family fishing business. The recovered logbook provides the most detailed account of the vessel's final voyage. Captain Sullivan's methodical entries describe normal fishing operations for the first 2 days at sea. Weather conditions appeared favorable, and the crew reported good catches in their designated fishing grounds. Equipment functioned properly, and morale remained high among the experienced crew. On November 15th, the final day, Sullivan's entries become increasingly concerned. He notes unusual readings from navigation instruments and describes water conditions that seem inconsistent with weather forecasts. The barometric pressure drops rapidly, and radio communications with other vessels become erratic. His final complete entry mentions a decision to head for port due to conditions beyond my experience. The incomplete final entry, cut off mid-word, suggests that whatever overtook Margaret's dream happened suddenly and without warning. Handwriting analysis confirms that Captain Sullivan was writing under normal circumstances when the entry stopped, ruling out panic or medical emergency as explanations for the abrupt cessation. Technical examination of the vessel's engines and systems reveals that everything was functioning normally when the boat sank. Fuel tanks remain full, suggesting the crew never had opportunity to use emergency power. Navigation equipment shows the vessel's final position matches the discovery location exactly, indicating Margaret's dream sank straight down rather than drifting with currents. The preservation of organic materials aboard the vessel provides unprecedented opportunities for scientific research. Food samples from the galley undergo analysis to understand decomposition rates in deep-sea environments. Textile fibers from clothing and bedding reveal how different materials respond to prolonged submersion in specific conditions. Marine biology researchers study the ecosystem that developed around the sunken vessel over 25 years. Despite the deep water location, various species had colonized the boat's exterior surfaces. The sealed interior, however, remained largely sterile, creating a unique environment for studying preservation processes. The discovery of Margaret's dream prompts reviews of other cold cases involving mysterious maritime disappearances. Coast Guard archives reveal dozens of similar incidents over the past century, many sharing characteristics with the 1978 vanishing. Advanced sonar technology makes it possible to search for other vessels that may have suffered similar fates. Dr. Rivers leads a team investigating the geological processes that could explain the vessel's burial and preservation. Core samples from the surrounding seafloor reveal layers of sediment deposited during various underwater landslides over the past several decades. The timing of these geological events correlates with periods of unusual seismic activity in the region. Meteorological analysis of conditions on November 15, 1978, reveals the presence of a rare atmospheric phenomenon known as a mesocyclone. This rotating storm system, more commonly associated with tornado formation over land, can create devastating conditions at sea. The interaction between this weather system and underwater geological instability may have contributed to the vessel's fate. The research generates new protocols for maritime safety in areas prone to similar geological and meteorological conditions. Modern fishing vessels receive updated equipment capable of detecting underwater landslide activity and unusual weather pattern formation. These technological advances, born from tragedy, may prevent future disappearances. Family members establish a memorial fund in honor of the 6 crew members, supporting maritime safety research and providing assistance to families of missing fishermen. The fund's first project involves installing advanced emergency beacons on small fishing vessels operating in areas identified as high risk for unexplained disappearances. The Margaret's Dream discovery influences maritime archaeology methodologies worldwide. The vessel's unique preservation conditions provide insights applicable to other underwater archaeological sites. Museums and educational institutions develop exhibits showcasing the discovery's significance for understanding both human stories and scientific processes. Years after the initial discovery, researchers continue analyzing data and artifacts recovered from the vessel. New technologies reveal additional details about the crew's final hours and the conditions that led to their disappearance. Each breakthrough brings families closer to understanding what happened to their loved ones, while advancing scientific knowledge about ocean mysteries. The story of Margaret's Dream becomes a testament to the power of persistence in seeking truth and honoring memory. 25 years of questions finally yield answers, though those answers generate new mysteries about the ocean's capacity to preserve and protect the stories of those lost to its depths. Mary Sullivan passes away peacefully in 2007, 4 years after her husband's vessel was discovered. Her funeral service includes readings from Robert's recovered logbook, sharing his words about the sea's beauty and danger with those who loved them both. She is buried beside a symbolic grave marker they had placed years earlier, finally at rest, knowing her husband's story had been found. The legacy of the 6 crew members lives on through the scientific discoveries their tragedy enabled. Their final voyage, frozen in time beneath the ocean floor, continues teaching researchers about maritime safety, geological processes, and the importance of never abandoning hope for answers. The sea that claimed their lives ultimately preserved their memory for future generations to study and remember. Dr. Chen, now a distinguished professor emeritus, continues studying the data collected from Margaret's Dream. Her work has influenced a new generation of maritime archaeologists and oceanographers who approach their research with the same combination of scientific rigor and human compassion that characterized the original investigation. The vessel itself remains on the ocean floor, protected as both an archaeological site and a grave. Robotic monitoring systems installed around the site document any changes in the vessel's condition while ensuring its preservation for future research. The Margaret's Dream has become a landmark in deep-sea archaeology, a place where science and memory converge beneath the endless expanse of the Atlantic Ocean.